Hey, we are live. Very exciting. Very exciting that I have a Winnie the Pooh cup. There he is right there. There's the guy. Okay, so you know the drill. Hopefully, can you see and hear me? And also fire away with questions. So I'll wait a moment before I go to make sure you can see and hear me. I've got my microphone and my image on. See, wow, can see and hear. That's like a good. We had some technical stuff the last two times, and the mug, right? You got some mushroom shaga mushroom tea in there. Yeah. Okay. Thanks for joining. There's at least one or two other people signed up, so maybe they'll jump on board. We don't know at this point. Drinking my Tulsi Rose. I've had that one. Very fond of that one as well. Good tea choices. How aristocratic of us. All right, give me some questions. Man, are you week 11? Am I right on that? Woo! I'd be very nervous if I were you. I'm 100% kidding. What do you got for me? Your steps list must be changing a little bit. For those of you watching this archived, your steps list evolves. It's an evolution throughout your whole life. Your steps list will be 10 steps. Then it'll be 2 steps. Then it'll be 5 steps. Then it'll go in the closet for a week. And then you'll bring it back out after you got back from a trip. And then you'll recreate a steps list that's better for you now that you got back from that trip and that is appropriate for wherever you're at that moment. Your steps list is in a good place depending on the context of your life and keeps you moving through even in difficult times. So that's pretty cool. So took reading first task off my list today. I think I've got that one down. Okay, for those of you just watching this archive version, I'm going to broadcast this one. Just took reading first task off my list. I think I've got that one down. So reading the first task was on the steps list. It can be. It's kind of meta, but it's a thing. Anything new goes on the list. Anything that you're not doing ordinarily without thinking about it goes on the list until it becomes something you don't really think about or something you don't want to continue doing. I mean, journaling's fantastic. I'm a huge fan. You can try it. It's not for everybody. So you put a journaling step on there, you stick with it a little while, you kind of grow it and you do it and you're, journaling. And then you realize like, you know what? Not really my bag. I don't really like it. I actually like taking long walks and deep breathing, and that's where I get my thinking done. Journaling steps comes off the list. Or you get to journaling where you're journaling every day. It's by your bed and you just get in bed and you journal, and you've been doing that for 2 months. You never even look at the step on your list. Comes off the list. So your steps list will not always keep growing. It doesn't grow infinitely. It exists infinitely, but the number of steps changes depending on what's going on. So take it off. Make some room for other stuff as soon as something becomes something that is just rote or that you don't want to do anymore. Okay. So Heidi writes, I have some negative habits. How do I put it in a positive way on my list to try break the habit? Okay, this is a big one. My advice to you on bad habits is to not address those directly on a step. And I know that that's kind of weird. So the best way we can get through this particular question is if you wouldn't mind throwing me one of the bad habits that you're referring to. And if you don't want to, just let me know. Just say, well, I don't want to share it, and I'll make one up. I'll make one up for the purposes of this discussion. But this is a very, very good question, especially for people who are in week 1, week 2. So until I pick at flaws on my skin. Okay, this is this list member's thing. I pick at flaws on my skin. Okay. This isn't about your skin. This is about, to me, a bigger question of, self-criticism, the things we hear in our minds. There, in my opinion, and again, this is the thing. Don't be look. This is look. Thank you for putting this up. This is not about your skin. This is about everybody's issues of self-criticism and self-judgment. Okay, it can be one of 1,000 things. So it's not even important what the thing was, but I wanted to sort of get a general example because now I can sort of weigh in on what I'm talking about here, which is, let's say it's that thing that you just said, or a bad habit of cigarette smoking. Okay, perfect. I have a bad habit, which is that I smoke cigarettes and I don't want to smoke cigarettes anymore. So how do I put a step on the list that is about smoking, but that's positive. Like, I want try to smoke one less cigarette. I don't, that's not my bag. That is not part of my specific approach. People have misinterpreted my approach by saying, oh yeah, he just talks about like smoke one less cigarette per day. 100% not at all what I stand for. Not at all, because then your brain is thinking about what you're not doing, what you can't do, what you're stopping doing. Everything that you think is a bad, so-called bad habit, and again, it's only bad because of what you made it up to be bad. Nothing is objectively bad. We create these things in our heads. Good to know. The step you put on your list should have nothing to do with the actual bad habit. Here's what I mean. We are going as a small step into much deeper issues than, for instance, weight loss or this thing that you put up. We're not about breaking habits. We are about creating new habits. And when you create new habits, everything changes. First of all, you get used to growing and evolving in your life. You get used to trying new things. You get used to being adventurous. That's sort of related to trying new things. You get in the habit of not stopping things, but filling your life up with more. This is an ethic, as I've said from day one of this program, an ethic of self-care. That's what this is. So as tempted as we are to try to directly, I just did an OMMW on this, a 1 minute midweek on my YouTube channel, this very thing. Before we start tackling directly the thing we don't want to do, eating junk food. I want to stop eating junk food. Remember what you are actually looking to do, which is to treat yourself better, to be happier. This thing that you're doing doesn't make you happy. You want to be happy. Good to know. Nail that down in your head. This isn't about not wanting to do something. This is about wanting to do another thing more, which is to be happier. The happier we get, the more used to self-care that we get, the more habitual taking care of ourselves is. We become less, the control that I talk about in terms of people taking control of their lives is simply this kind of getting off our butts and stop saying like, look what's happening to me. And instead saying, okay, this is happening to me. How do I engage and deal with it? Well, this is a good example of that very thing, which is this is happening. You don't like it. You want to stop it. How do you engage with it? If you spend all your time getting mad at yourself for doing the thing, that's going to fill your brain. If you do the thing and just keep doing it and just let it go, just fine. Pick at the flaws, keep doing it. And I'm not kidding. Keep doing it. Don't put down your steps list. It has nothing to do with who you are at all. Now go to your steps list and go bring in new things. Now, the one exception to that, okay? This is how I stopped biting my nails, by the way. I stopped biting my nails, again, an embarrassing thing, for years. Here's how I stopped biting my nails. I realized that biting my nails wasn't really about the nails. It was about stress. And if I was stressed, I'd go, I'm stressed. So what I did was I made a step in I didn't formally put this one particular one, but it was just a thing I did. And I said, every time I bite a nail and I'm aware of it, I'm going to take a deep breath. I didn't say stop biting my nails. I just said, every time I do that, I go, and when that happened, guess what? Overall, my stress came down. I realized that what I was doing by biting my nails was a dissipative maneuver. It was to dissipate stress. It was flawed. Obviously, biting my nails wasn't really lowering my stress, but a deep breath certainly was. And so as I made a step of like, every time you bite your nails, instead of calling myself an idiot or bad, out of control, or God, I hate, that pisses me. I can't believe I do this still at 45 or whatever it was. I just deep breath. That's what I filled my brain with. Do the bad habit. And I started to associate the act with what I'm truly trying to do, which is to dissipate stress. Now, this isn't totally analogous to what you wrote, but it is in a way, because either you can hook something into that every time you catch yourself doing that, you do something nice for yourself, period. You go, you know what? I'm not the person who gets mad at herself for doing this thing that I've been doing for years. I'm the person who, when I am aware of it, I do something nice. I take a deep breath or I walk around. The deep breath, there you go. I'm thinking that taking a deep breath might increase my awareness. It will, and you'll see that over time. And it's such a cool step, and that you can put. Every time I do X, Y, Z, I'm going to take a deep breath. Every time put it this way, every time I'm aware that I'm doing X, Y, Z, because you don't want to get mad that you missed this thing, but every time you're aware, you catch yourself, deep breath. And in that moment, what you did was something that was absolutely you, intentional, conscious, aware, overused term, but mindful. And one less time you did something that's not you, which is, big surprise, getting mad at yourself, telling yourself that you're weak, whatever the messages are that are flooding all of our brains. When you can take a conscious effort and make a step, make an act that is you, that's just one more notch in your belt on that day. Wow, how awesome. Then you're like, bring on more of the picking at the flaws, because man, I'm doing more deep breaths than ever before. And you change the way you look at your life that way. You start having a little bit of a sense of humor about it. And you go, yeah, I pick at my flaws. It's like ridiculous. And now I just take a freaking deep breath. And overall, I'm relaxed. Turns out I pick at my flaws 18 times a day. So now I'm taking 18 deep breaths a day. And I'm feeling freaking great. I'm like calm all day. You lighten the load. When you are getting on yourself, when you are self-critical, that is a recipe for continuing bad behavior. Bad, and I don't mean morally bad. I mean behavior that doesn't suit you, that doesn't serve you. When you are getting mad at yourself on top of the thing that you don't want to do. So you do the thing you don't want to do, then you feel bad about the thing you don't want to do, then you self-judge about the thing you don't want to do. It just continues. There's no way to break out of that except by taking that on directly and trying to stop it. The only way to get out of it is to quickly learn to rote behavior, do something positive for yourself. Positive. Walk around the room. Just get up and do 2 squats. And that's how you take the power back. So, excellent. Great question. Super freaking great question. I'm going to broadcast this one too. I've been smiling so much over the last 11 weeks. The idea of lightening the load on myself is real. Couldn't be happier. I couldn't be happier. I was thinking about this today. That like the best gift anybody can give me is to take better care of themselves. If I had more people in the world that were just happier, how is not good for everybody, including the people that are you're related to directly in your life, and then indirectly everybody you come in contact with, and then the circle's just ever widening. And how much cooler would it be if we are replacing as a people a lot of the negative stuff that we hear in our heads about ourselves, and we replace that not with positive thinking, man, but with action of self-care. And what a difference that would make. Huge. And that's a gift to me. And so when you say you've been smiling much more, that's a world I want to live in, of people that are smiling and the loads are lightening. When the loads are heavy, then we see the behavior of all the crap that's going on in the world today. It's a heavy load, and people are not taking the time to assess their own lives. They're not taking the time to get really clear on the lives they want to live. They're just bogged down. That's one of my huge faults with social media, is it is a distraction that is keeping people from actually taking care of themselves, or at least asking the right questions about their lives. What you're seeing, Heidi, in this 11 weeks and now in your almost final week is an actual lightening of the load, simply because you're spending more time. You haven't had to, I'm assuming you haven't had to ignore your family, but you're carving out little moments where you're actually of self-care, and you're going to see that bleed into virtually every part of your life, work and otherwise, work, family, social, everything, because it is an actual lightening of the load. It's not a word game. It's not you just thinking positively. You are seeing the effects of actual hard work and actual action. And that's what's going on. And you just wrote now, you said, no, I've been more engaged in my life, not less. That's the name of the game here. The small steps approach is simply how to increase engagement in your life without having to freaking check out from your family and go live in an ashram for 4 years and never see them again. And I don't actually think I don't define that as engaging. I actually think that's separating too. I think the best thing to do is be able to learn how to engage in your day-to-day with your families, with your job, how to dive into your life more fully in the life that you have and not escape. And that means not escaping to an ashram. It also means not escaping into social media. Oh, this is the best ever. I was able to run around with my kids on the soccer field for the first time in a year. I mean, how is that not the best thing? It's like the simple, and this is going to sound so trite, I get it. But I think when we take moments, when we learn how to grab moments, which you are doing as a small stepper, we do realize that the things that are the best for us are the very simple things. We don't need the gold watch. We get a lot of joy. I just did 10 minutes ago before I started this live Q&A. I was outside riding a bike with my twins. We built a little bike jump. It was like 15 minutes, super fun. We don't need anything fancy. I mean, we as a species, the people who are filling their lives with material, and I'm not an anti-materialist, I'm just saying it's its own drug, and you always need more and more and more when you get into that bag if you don't have a good solid core. Look, I like a toy like the next person, but I want to be able to make sure I have a solid core to know that that's not going to really make me happy. It's going to give me a little bit of joy and it's fun, but the real happiness comes from these very simple time with family, eating good food once in a while most of the time rather, so we feel good in our minds and bodies. Those are the just like accessible things for everybody, most people in the world, not everybody, I guess, but most people in the world, finding these little moments you can run around with your kid. That makes a difference to you because of the work that you've done. Not only, but it is definitely making a difference to you because of the work you are doing as a small stepper. You will now be more aware of where your true happiness lies, and these little things that somebody go like, yeah, you ran around with your kids, whoop-de-doo. Well, it's not whoop-de-doo. It's actually massive in my mind. It's massive. So you'll start being more aware. And again, just as I said, this snowball effect of negativity, this is a snowball effect of positivity. You're going to be now so hyper aware of all these things that you are doing that you weren't doing before. That includes thought patterns too. So you're going to notice you're not beating yourself up as much. And that's a win. And you'll notice you can run around with your kids on a field. That's a win. All these wins that are probably already existing in your life that you weren't even aware of because we're so bogged down with all the crap that we have to deal with. So it's all good stuff. I'm so happy, and I'm not even saying I'm proud of you. It's not my place. I think you should be proud of yourself because you did the freaking work. This is not me. I gave you a very basic structure within which to move into your life, but you did the work. Easily, somebody can learn my small steps approach and not use it, and it will be as useless as any 21-day diet is. It's about ultimately the engagement of the person that makes this a successful program or not. And that's I have no control over that. I can craft the program as I crafted it. It's up to the person to engage in it, use it or not. And if they're going to use it, use it. If you're not going to use it, you're going to half-ass it, don't bother, because it's like any other program. You got to do it, right? So yeah, being more you, so much of a win. It really is a win. I mean, it really is a win. And look, the reality is there may be some ebbs and flows. In 6 months, you might be languishing a little bit and the steps are kind of not really. And then you just crumple that steps list, throw it away, start with a new one, and just re-up the entire thing. Reread your first task. Maybe you update your first task, play with your second task a little bit. If people who are watching this haven't gotten to it, you will. And refresh your steps list and include something on there that's, the getting through the day stuff, deep breath, journaling, fine. But then maybe include something that is like crazy, out of the ordinary nuts, like taking a freaking dulcimer lesson, like something that is just like so insane, or learning how to shoot and edit a video. I mean, something that is like so nuts, but you're a small stepper, so there's not anything tied up in it really. There's no success. It's just adventure and curiosity, and you just do that, and that's how you again keep those things lively. Super cool. Okay, let me. So Heidi writes, I'm not saying I'm already there, but just shifting towards positive and incremental steps and change. To which I would respond, there is no there. This is a weird thing for people. This is a practice. Here's why you are there as I define it. You're there because you're in the practice, and you're there because you understand that this is the thing. There's no end. There's no end. You're actually doing this, which is shifting towards positive and incremental steps and change. You're doing it. There's going to be times where you notice you're being more you on a given day and a lot less you, and that's amazing. And then stress happens and you kind of react in it. And it's just, but overall, the upward slope is like this, and you're in it. There is no there. I'm not there. You're not there. You're never going to be there. I'm never going to be there. There's a lot of unnatural weirdness that we have to deal with in the world, but we're doing better. I'm doing way better than I was 10 years ago, and doing way better than when I was 10 years before. It's a growth evolution. I have bad days, and I have days where I do things that I am going like, what the hell was that? That was not at all me. it doesn't set me back as much as it used to. I don't beat myself up about those things. I go, yeah, wasn't me. I know who I am. I didn't express myself that great that time, but I know where I stand. And I know that next time it's good chances that it's going to be a different ball game. And over time, it's going to be less of those days and more of these days. That's it. That's it. You're there. You continue this practice of engagement, and you have this physical list that you look at that has the things on it that are goals, but they're actions of self-care. And when you have that in front of you, you always know that you are engaged in your own life. You always know that you're engaged in your own life, even if it's in the most minimal level. You are, and when you are, you live better. I know that I know that sounds really stupid and simple, but it's freaking true every time. Okay. So do I not worry about lulls happening in my steps in the future? Are there ways to keep it from happening? So I don't know if you know, so yes. And that is that you shake things up, you know, you have a marriage, right? You're married, you get into your, this is a really good analogy actually, but you have your marriage, and let's say you have a good relationship, but it kind of just becomes routine. Like you do the things, and your husband or wife does the things, and you kind of, all of a sudden days go by, or then it's months, then it's years, and you just kind of, you get up this time, I get up this time, somebody makes the coffee, and you're kind of, and it's a bad thing. It's just not really exciting. Well, how do you do that? You shake things up, you change things, you break those routines, not by trying to break the routines themselves, like stopping, but let's do something new. Let's try something. Let's take a class together. Let's go on, let's put a step on our list that is a 5-minute walk together per day. That's in a relationship, how you shake things up. Well, this is essentially a relationship. It's a relationship between you, and you shake things up on occasion. And even a steps list that doesn't change will become stagnant. The good news is that assessing a steps list on a weekly basis, let's say, you can keep things pretty lively without being drastically changed, which is, of course, what I'm a big fan of. You can go from 3 deep breaths to 4 deep breaths. While a minimal change, a change nevertheless, a change that you're going to be paying attention to day to day. You go, oh, I'm doing 4 today. That's right. Well, that little ding ding is you not getting used to the 3. If you just have 3 on your steps list for 2 years and you just have that 1 step, well, it's a habit already, and it doesn't need to be on your list. You take it off, put something else on there. As you get more comfortable with trying things, and so-called failing doesn't mean anything to you, the steps list can be very exciting. It can be, it could be 1,000 things. It'd be drawing for 5 minutes a day, and you've never drawn a picture in your life, or not since school. And all of a sudden you're buying some oils and you're doing an oil painting that sucks by every measure except for you, because you love the process and you're having a great time. That's how you keep your life lively, just like you keep a marriage lively. You have to engage in it. You have to say, let's try new things. Let's together be this thing that we weren't before. That's what small stepping is on a personal level. That's it. And I know people who applied this to their relationship also, by the way. My new book's on healthy families, applying this way of thinking to families. And in that book, I talk about parents making steps for themselves, but then also more family-oriented steps, using this small steps approach for families, like 5 minutes of playing a game per week, you know, which sounds stupid. You can't even finish a game. Yeah, well, you weren't doing anything before. Or 10 minutes of reading a book as a family together if you have small kids. These are the things that make a difference in the family dynamic, because very quickly you get into your rote behavior, and all of a sudden time goes by and you're not engaged. How you engage is you make those cracks in that wall of behavior that I talk about. That's it. Works on a personal level, works on a marital level, works on a familial level, and any social level. Really, you can do a step where it's socializing with a friend, 5-minute call per week, and you tell your friend, like, look, I don't have a lot of time. Would you be willing to jump on a 5-minute call with me per week? Because I just want to touch base with you. It always makes me happy. I just want to check in with you. I just don't have much time. So I just want to, let's set a time and we just check in for 5 minutes a week. That would be an amazing step for people who just don't ever talk because they figure, I don't have time to get on a 45-minute phone call. I'm absolutely guilty of that right now. There are people I want to talk to, but I don't really call because I want to hang out with my kids. I don't have time to sit what I know is going to be for an hour. I don't have that time. And so I don't make the call at all. Whereas I could just say, hey, I want to talk to you, but can we just break it up into little bits so that I can talk to you, but then also not have to ignore my kids, whatever. Anyway, so it works on every level. Okay, man, didn't know where this was going to go. Anything else? Anything else? I'm trying to mix the times up to get more people, and they're signing up, and they're not signing on. So it must be a rough thing for scheduling wise. Any other questions? What did you say? You were almost finished with week 11? That's crazy. Amazing. Almost finished with week 11. Very cool. Very cool. Okay. I'm going to shut this down unless there's any other questions, and maybe you're typing right now, so I'll hang out for a minute. Anything? Yeah, they have gone by. It seems, I don't know, it must seem daunting. Maybe it seems daunting to people, like a 12-week program. But man, is it fast. And when I was working with private clients, it's a month. And I think that sounded like a long time. And all of a sudden I'd be like, okay, we have 1 week left. They'd be like, really? Like it was just so fast. I'd be like, yeah, we didn't do this for 3 weeks. But days go by. And then those, like I said, those days turn into weeks and weeks into months and months into years. Next thing you know, you wanted to play guitar and you went bat out of hell for 2 weeks and didn't do it anymore. And a year goes by and you could have been 5 minutes a week on that. And that would have grown over that year. And all of a sudden in a year, you're playing 2 hours a week. That's not unheard of and great if you could just buy that little moments of time. Okay, so more about success and failure. Yeah, I mean, the thing is as you engage more in your life, you come to terms with what your definitions of success and failure truly are. I just talked about this in a video that I was shooting today, that my vlog, which is I'm doing a Spartan race in a week. Never done a Spartan race before. It's a very, very good time for me to do a Spartan race. And here's why. Because as a small stepper, and this has been really one of my big wins over the last, I'd say 5-6 years of really doing this seriously as a small stepper, is that the idea of success lies so much more in the attempt. And this is not a cop-out. Of course, I want to finish the race. But I don't know if it's my age or my maturity or whatever, but I'm not going to be bummed out if I don't finish the race. I really don't care. I like that I'm doing new things at 49 years old, that I'm not settled into a routine, that I have never settled into this is what I do for the next 50 years, that there is liveliness. And that to me is my definition of success. And I think that we as small steppers, as we get engaged in our lives and paying attention to things, we know that success is you running around a field with your kids. That's success. And failure almost doesn't exist if you're engaged in your life. My biggest fear always was, even as a musician, was me trying to write a hit song and failing. That's miserable because I'm trying to do something that's not me and not even good at that. It was always like, let me try to write the best songs I can write. Let me be the best songwriter I can be. And then success or failure is very much secondary to that action. And I think that as small steppers, as we engage in our lives in that way, we understand where success really lies, which is in the engagement itself. And failure is simply not engaging. Failure is simply not paying attention to our lives. Failure is sort of getting into a behavior pattern that doesn't serve us and that we're just not going to ever change. So again, that's kind of how I define it. I want you guys to define it for yourselves, but that's where I lie. And I think that you get very good, because you don't want to lie. You don't want to be dishonest. You don't want to be like, I don't care if I don't finish, but you do care. That's the conflict that does definitely not serve us well. And I will tell you, I've cared. Like I put pressure on myself. And again, I do want to finish the race. I'll be bummed if I don't finish the race. The difference is now at 49, it's not going to tank me. I really don't. I don't know why, but I don't really give a crap. I could be lying. I hope I'm not. I don't think I am, because I'm paying attention to my life and saying, what's my stress level around this race? I'm not stressed. I haven't been stressed. I've been training for 3 months. I'm not nervous about the race. I'll be nervous on race day, but I'm not like, oh my God, there's a lot riding on this. There's not, except for that I'm really excited that I'm actually trying something new that's kind of scary. And I kind of dig that, So that's kind of how that goes. I was so afraid of failure in the beginning, they often didn't start. Yeah. And what that failure is to me, a misdefinition of where success and failure lives. You're afraid of failure. Your fear of failure was failure of the thing you were doing. I didn't start yoga because I didn't think I was going to be good at yoga. I didn't play guitar because I thought I was going to suck at guitar. As we mature in our lives, and I believe as we take care, and again, I'm not talking about competitive athlete. He or she is going to, the success or failure is very defined. I'm not talking about that, and they can be small steppers in every other area, but of course they're going to want to succeed in that thing in a very defined, worldly kind of way. I get that thing. But for us to move and say, the fear of failure is the fear of that outward defined thing. And that's not really, when you come to terms with that, you realize, boy, it's a lot crappier to not ever try. It really is. Fear, everybody feels fear, and it feels so much worse to give in to that fear than the fear itself. Feeling afraid is a part of life. To me, I look at it as a stress response. Our bodies are protecting us. Our minds are protecting us. And when there's something we've never done before, like this Spartan race, there's a lot in me that goes, I shouldn't do that. And I've just gotten very familiar with that feeling and like, yeah, okay, got it. Thank you for trying to protect me. I'm going to be okay. It's not that unsafe. I'm going to be okay. And I'm going to do it. And if I don't finish, it's okay. So you wrote, trying new things is so much more freeing and enjoyable than living in fear of failure. Exactly. And again, as I said earlier in this Q&A, you're not trying to stop the fear. You're not trying to stop feeling afraid. You're trying to live your life in spite of all that. And when you live your life in spite of all that, you get way more used to living your life. You get way more used to the feeling of being alive. Fear is about staying alive. Small stepping is about being alive. Trying new things is about being alive. Fear is about protection. I've got to make sure, and it's good in some cases. The fear keeps you from doing things that may be actually dangerous. But for most people in the modern world, fear is simply a thing that keeps us from trying new things, keeps us from entering into relationships, keeps us from looking for that new job, keeps us from signing up for that guitar lesson because we're worried about what we're going to fail, keeps that from signing up for a race, even though we have no business running a 5K, we're going to be so crappy at it. That's why I think it's so courageous that I worked with a guy one time, he was, pretty overweight, and he's running triathlons now. And he got past that kind of, and he's still overweight, I think. I don't know, but for a while he was overweight and running. It was like, oh my God, that's amazing. Most people are just like, no. And you kind of get used to that, and you get into that, and you realize where success truly lies. And it lies in the doing, in the acting. And the more you do and act, the addiction gets right on in that stuff. And you get addicted to doing and acting and living for real. And there's just no junk food, no drug, no alcohol, no mindless movie that will ever substitute the feeling of accomplishment that you get from actually engaging in your life and trying new stuff. That excitement cannot be substituted with anything artificial. It cannot. And when people try to substitute that stuff with artificial stuff, they need more artificial stuff all the time. They need more junk food quickly. They need more drugs and alcohol. They need more mindless entertainment and social media. They need more of it because it's never going to fulfill that feeling they get from actually taking control of their lives. If I can get people just a glimpse of that feeling, what it feels like to take control of your life, you'll continue that forever. But you got to get that feeling first. And when you get that feeling, it's because you go, yes, I'm afraid, but I'm going to do it anyway. Woo, huge, big. All of a sudden you're like, yeah, ball games, the car's rolling now. And that's the small steppers way. Where that goes is totally up to you. So super duper cool. All right. Shall we wrap it up? Any other questions? We're at 35 minutes. That's not bad, I don't think. All right. Enjoy the rest of your Sunday, and I will hopefully see you next week. All right. Thanks. And everybody watching the archive, thank you, and we'll see you soon. Sign up for another live Q&A. Bye.